The morning sun had just begun to peek over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across a quiet roadside diner. Steam curled from coffee cups, and the low rumble of motorcycle engines filled the crisp air. The scent of fuel, bacon, and leather hung thick around the group of Hell's Angels bikers who had stopped for breakfast. They looked like the kind of men others might cross the street to avoid, rugged, scarred, and dressed in worn leather. Yet beneath those vests were stories no one ever bothered to ask about. Laughter echoed between them, bouncing off the chrome of their bikes, until a sudden, desperate scream shattered the morning calm. Every head turned. A small figure in a red dress came sprinting across the parking lot, boots slipping on the cold pavement, messy light brown hair flying wildly behind her. Her face was streaked with dirt and tears, her voice raw with panic. "Please," she cried, pointing back toward the road. "They're hurting my mama. Please, somebody help her." The group froze. Even the engines seemed to fall silent. A few truckers near the gas pumps glanced over, but no one moved, except one man. If you still believe in kindness, in second chances, and in people who step up when the world looks away, then keep watching. What happened next would restore anyone's faith in humanity. The man who stepped forward was Mason Cole, a broad-shouldered biker in his late 30s. His jacket bore the red and white emblem of the Hells Angels. Mason had seen plenty in life, fights, betrayal, and blood, but never a child this small, this terrified. He dropped to one knee, steadying her trembling hands. "Where's your mama?" he asked, his gravelly voice gentler than his rough exterior suggested. The girl could barely form words through her sobs, only pointing again toward a cluster of run-down trailers half hidden by trees. "They're beating her," she choked out. "Please, help her." Without hesitation, Mason rose, his face set with purpose. "Tank, Ryder, with me," he ordered. The three men swung their legs over their Harleys. Engines roared to life, tires screeched, and within seconds they were gone, dust swirling in their wake. Back at the diner, the little girl was ushered inside. One of the bikers wrapped her in a leather jacket to keep her warm. She sat by the window, clutching the oversized sleeve, watching the fading red taillights disappear down the road. For 5 long minutes, the world stayed still. Then faintly, the sound of chaos echoed back, shouting, a woman's cry, and the roar of motorcycles cutting through it all. Mason and his brothers had reached the trailer. Inside, a drunk and furious man had cornered a woman against the wall. His fists were already bloodied, his voice slurred with rage. A sliver of sunlight from a cracked window fell across the woman's bruised face. Before he could strike again, boots thundered across the floor. Mason caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted hard, forcing him to drop the bottle he'd been holding. It shattered on the floor as 2 other bikers pinned him down with ease. No words, just action. Mason turned to the woman, his voice softer now. "You okay, ma'am?" She nodded weakly, tears streaking her swollen face. In the distance, police sirens began to wail. A neighbor must have called it in. When the officers arrived, the bikers didn't flee. They stood in the yard, calm and silent, hands raised. The little girl clung to Mason's leg. The woman, Carla, stepped forward to explain. The man was her ex-boyfriend, freshly released from jail. He'd found her that morning and attacked without warning. When police led him away in handcuffs, Mason crouched beside the girl, Hannah, and said softly, "You did good, kid. You were brave." They rode back to the diner together. Hannah perched in front of him, a helmet far too big for her tiny head. The sun had climbed higher now, spreading warmth across the open road. When they arrived, a small crowd had gathered, truckers, travelers, and locals, all waiting anxiously. The moment they saw Mason carrying the little girl, with her mother walking slowly behind, bruised but alive, silence fell. Carla's voice shook as she thanked him again and again. "I didn't think anyone would come," she whispered. Mason glanced at her, then down at Hannah. "She made sure we did," he said simply. The diner owner came out with blankets and coffee, quietly offering them, one by one. The Hells Angels removed their leather jackets and draped them around Carla and Hannah, a gesture so kind even the police officers turned away, pretending not to notice their own tears. The morning sun caught the patch on Mason's vest as he leaned down to speak to the little girl. You take care of your mama, all right? You're her little guardian angel now." Hannah nodded, her small fingers gripping the edge of his sleeve. Word of what happened spread quickly. By noon, half the town had heard about the little girl who ran to the bikers, and how the Hells Angels didn't hesitate to help. Strangers stopped by the diner all afternoon to shake their hands, to thank them for stepping in when others froze. When someone asked Mason why they did it, he just shrugged and said, "You don't ignore a cry like that. Doesn't matter what patch you wear. Some things are just human." Over the next few weeks, Carla and Hannah began rebuilding their lives. The town came together. People donated furniture, groceries, even a small apartment nearby. And every Sunday, the rumble of motorcycles could be heard outside. Mason and his crew would stop by the diner, bringing food, sharing coffee, and laughing with the little girl who'd once run to them in fear. Months later, when spring sunlight replaced the frost, Hannah ran up to Mason outside the diner with a piece of paper clutched in her hands. She'd drawn a picture in crayon. A line of motorcycles, a little girl in red, and a man kneeling beside her. "This is us," she said proudly. Mason looked at the picture for a long moment, then folded it carefully and tucked it into his vest. "That's coming with me wherever I ride," he told her. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because sometimes the toughest hearts carry the deepest kindness.